My name is Emily Carter, and for as long as I can remember, I believed my life was finally falling into place. I was 24, living in a small town outside of Austin, Texas, and after years of heartbreaks and disappointments, I had finally found the man I thought was my forever, Daniel Miller. Daniel was everything I had prayed for: kind, funny, responsible, and most importantly, he loved me for who I was, not for what I looked like, not for the money I didn't have, and not for the perfect body I had never been able to achieve. The night of my engagement was supposed to be the most magical night of my life. I wore a simple but elegant champagne-colored gown that shimmered under the lights of the banquet hall. My hair was curled to perfection, and for the first time in years, I looked at myself in the mirror and felt beautiful. My parents were proud, my friends were excited, and Daniel couldn't take his eyes off me. But what I didn't know, what none of us knew, was that someone very close to me was plotting to destroy my happiness. Her name was Samantha Carter. My cousin, my closest relative in age, and someone I had grown up with like a sister. People always compared us. Samantha was the perfect one. Blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, slim, with a magnetic personality that drew everyone to her, like a moth to a flame. And then there was me. Average height, brown hair, brown eyes, curves I often tried to hide, and a quieter personality that never seemed to shine in a room full of people. For years, I thought Samantha was my best friend. We laughed together, shared secrets, cried on each other's shoulders, but underneath that bond, I later realized, was jealousy, bitterness, and resentment I never imagined she carried against me. The banquet hall glowed with golden chandeliers, the music was soft, and the laughter of our guests echoed around. Everything was perfect, until Samantha stood up, glass of wine in hand, and tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her smile wide, her eyes sparkling with mischief, "I'd like to say a few words about my dear cousin Emily." I smiled nervously, squeezing Daniel's hand. Public speeches weren't unusual at events like this, and I thought maybe she wanted to give a sweet toast. But what came out of her mouth froze my entire world. "You all know Emily," Samantha began, her tone playful, almost mocking. She's always been a dreamer. And tonight, she's living her biggest dream, snagging a guy like Daniel." A nervous chuckle rippled through the crowd. Daniel's brow furrowed. My heart thudded against my ribs. "She may not be the smartest girl in the room," Samantha continued, her words sharp as knives disguised in velvet. "She may not be the prettiest. Lord knows she struggled with that since we were kids. But somehow, she convinced Daniel to put a ring on her finger." Gasps erupted. My mother's face turned pale. Daniel tightened his grip on my hand, and I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. Samantha's eyes glittered with cruel satisfaction as she added, "Honestly, I never thought she was good enough for him. But hey, miracles happen every day, right?" Silence. Utter, unbearable silence filled the hall. I could feel tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not now. My engagement night, the one moment of joy I had been dreaming of, was crumbling in front of everyone I loved. Daniel stood abruptly, his voice thunderous. "That's enough, Samantha." But Samantha only smirked. "Oh, come on. Daniel, everyone's thinking it. I'm just saying it out loud." I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded, my chest tightened, and my mind screamed 1,000 thoughts at once. Why would she do this to me? What did I ever do to deserve this? The guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, whispering, avoiding my gaze. I wanted to disappear, to vanish into the shadows. But then Daniel did something I'll never forget. He stood in front of me, shielding me from the stairs, and spoke with a voice so steady, so fierce, it silenced even Samantha. "Emily is more than good enough for me," he said, his eyes blazing. "She is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and if anyone here thinks otherwise, then you don't belong in our lives." My throat tightened. Tears finally spilled down my cheeks, not from pain this time, but from the raw love I felt in his words. Samantha's smile faltered, but only for a second. She tossed her blonde hair over her shoulder and laughed bitterly. "Fine, play the hero. But just wait, Daniel. Sooner or later, you'll see the real Emily. And when you do, you'll regret this night." With that, she stormed off, her heels clicking angrily against the marble floor, leaving behind a room heavy with tension and unease. I stood there trembling, staring at the ground, trying to process everything. My engagement, the night I had imagined as a fairy tale, had turned into a nightmare. And little did I know, Samantha wasn't done yet. That cruel speech was just the beginning of her mission to ruin me. Because sometimes, family isn't your safe place. Sometimes family is the storm that tries to destroy everything you've built. And my cousin was that storm? The party ended earlier than expected. Guests shuffled out awkwardly, muttering under their breaths, some pretending nothing had happened, others openly gossiping about Samantha's cruel outburst. My parents tried to comfort me, but I could see the embarrassment in their eyes. Daniel held my hand firmly the entire time, refusing to let go, as though anchoring me against the storm. When we finally got home, I collapsed on the couch, my dress crumpled, my makeup smudged. Daniel knelt beside me, brushing the hair from my face. "Emily," he whispered gently, "don't let her get to you." But how could I not? Samantha's words echoed in my mind like a poisonous chant. Not smart enough. Not pretty enough. Not good enough. The words wrapped around my heart, suffocating me. "Why would she do that?" I choked out. "She's my cousin, Daniel. We grew up together. I loved her like a sister." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Some people can't stand seeing others happy. She doesn't deserve your tears." I wanted to believe him, but deep down, a part of me wondered if Samantha had spoken aloud what some others secretly thought. That night, when Daniel finally fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My mind drifted back to my childhood with Samantha. We were only 2 months apart in age. Our mothers were sisters, and we practically lived in each other's houses. I remembered playing dress-up in her mom's walk-in closet, pretending we were princesses. But even then, I noticed the difference. Whenever we wore tiaras, Samantha was always crowned the queen, and I was just the helper. Whenever we played pretend weddings, she was the bride, and I was the bridesmaid. Everyone adored her, praised her looks, her charm. And me? I was always in her shadow. But I never resented her, not once, because I thought love meant being happy for the people you cared about. Little did I know, Samantha didn't see me as a sister. She saw me as competition. Thanks. Next week, Daniel and I tried to move on. We went back to planning our wedding, choosing flowers, tasting cakes, picking venues. I forced myself to smile, to push away the hurt. But Samantha didn't disappear. One evening, I was at my parents' house when my mother called me into the kitchen. She looked troubled. "Emily," she said hesitantly, "your Aunt Linda came by today." My stomach tightened. "And?" She said Samantha feels terrible about what happened. She wants to apologize." I laughed bitterly. "Apologize? Or twist the knife deeper?" "Sweetheart," my mom pleaded, "family is family. You can't just cut her out forever." But I could, and I wanted to. Still, against my better judgment, I agreed to meet Samantha for coffee. The cafe was warm and smelled of roasted beans and cinnamon rolls. I sat at a corner table, my arms crossed, waiting. Samantha arrived 10 minutes late, strutting in with her designer coat, perfect makeup, and that confident smirk I knew too well. "Emily," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "You look tired." I clenched my jaw. "Get to the point, Samantha." She sighed dramatically, stirring her latte. "Fine. I just wanted to say I'm sorry if I embarrassed you at your engagement party." "If?" I snapped. "You humiliated me in front of everyone I love. That wasn't an accident, Samantha. You planned it." Her blue eyes glittered as she leaned closer. "Maybe I did. But don't you think it needed to be said? Daniel is out of your league. Everyone knows it. I was just brave enough to admit it." My chest burned with rage. "Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you?" For a split second, her mask slipped, and I saw something raw in her eyes. Jealousy, anger, desperation. "You existed," she whispered bitterly. "You took things that should have been mine. The attention, the love, and now, Daniel." My heart stopped. "Daniel? You like him?" She smirked. "What's not to like? He's handsome, successful, kind. He should have been mine, Emily. But somehow, you ended up with him. And I can't stand it." The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. All these years, Samantha's cruelty wasn't random. It wasn't meaningless. She wanted what I had, and she would do anything to get it. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "Stay away from me, Samantha, and stay away from Daniel. If you ever try to come between us again, I swear." She laughed coldly. "Or what? You'll fight me? Please, Emily. You can't fight me. You've never won against me in your life." I stormed out, my hands trembling, my chest heaving. For the first time, I realized Samantha wasn't just toxic. She was dangerous. That night, I told Daniel everything. He listened silently, his expression darkening with every word. When I finished, he pulled me into his arms. "I don't care what she thinks, Emily. I love you. I chose you. And no one, not even Samantha, can change that." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to let his words wrap around me like armor. But deep down, I feared Samantha wasn't done. And I was right. Because the very next week, rumors began to spread. Ugly, vicious rumors about me. That I was only marrying Daniel for his money. That I had cheated on him in college. That I wasn't loyal. Friends started texting me awkwardly, asking if the stories were true. My boss at work called me into her office, concerned about the whispers. My reputation, my dignity, was under attack. And there was only one person cruel enough to be behind it. Samantha. She wasn't just trying to humiliate me anymore. She was trying to destroy me. And worst of all, I had no idea how far she was willing to go. The following weeks were a blur of whispers, cold stares, and unanswered questions. Everywhere I went, it felt like people were talking about me. At the grocery store, I overheard two women muttering my name, followed by giggles. At work, my coworkers exchanged glances when I entered the break room. Even at church on Sunday, I caught the pastor's wife staring at me with thinly veiled judgment. The rumors were working. Samantha's poison was spreading, and I was drowning in it. One evening, I came home to find Daniel pacing the living room, his phone in his hand, his jaw tight. "What's wrong?" I asked, setting down my purse. He looked up, frustration written all over his face. "My colleague Mark just called me. He said someone told him you only said yes to me because of my family's money." My heart sank. "Daniel, you don't believe that, do you?" He crossed the room in 2 strides, cupping my face in his hands. "Of course not. I know you, Emily. But it's exhausting. I'm constantly having to defend us. defend you. And it's all because of her. Samantha, the name we didn't have to say out loud. Tears filled my eyes. She won't stop, Daniel. She told me herself she thinks you should have been hers. She's going to keep coming after me until she destroys us. Daniel pulled me into his chest, his voice low and determined. Then we fight back, together. But fighting back wasn't as easy as it sounded. Samantha was clever, manipulative, and worst of all, charming. She knew how to twist stories, how to play the victim, how to make people believe her lies. One night, I got a call from my best friend, Rachel. "Emily," she said hesitantly, "I need to ask you something. Did you really cheat on Daniel?" I nearly dropped the phone. "What? No, who told you that?" She sighed. "Samantha called me. She said she caught you in college with some guy named Tyler. She made it sound so convincing." I sat on the edge of my bed, shaking. "Rachel, it's not true. I never cheated on Daniel. I don't even know anyone named Tyler." Rachel paused, then said softly, "I believe you, Em. But Samantha's spreading this to everyone. You need to be careful." I hung up, fury boiling inside me. This wasn't just jealousy anymore. This was character assassination. The final straw came at my bridal shower. My mother, my friends, and some relatives gathered at a beautiful venue decorated with pink and white balloons. For a few hours, I actually felt normal again, surrounded by love and laughter. We played silly games, opened gifts, and for a moment, I allowed myself to imagine a happy future. Then Samantha walked in. She wasn't invited. I hadn't wanted her there. But she came anyway, strutting in with her perfect dress and fake smile. The room fell silent. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I came to celebrate," she said innocently, holding a wrapped gift. "After all, I'm family." My friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. My mom forced a polite smile, and I wanted to scream. For a while she behaved. She sipped champagne, chatted with relatives, even complimented me on my dress. But then, just as I was about to cut the cake, she stood up, tapping her glass with a fork. "Ladies," she said sweetly, "I think it's only fair that before we celebrate Emily's upcoming wedding, we address something important." My stomach twisted. "Samantha, don't." She ignored me. "I think Daniel deserves to know the truth, don't you?" Gasps filled the room. My mother looked horrified. "What truth?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Samantha's?" Eyes glittered with malice. "That you cheated on him. That you're marrying him for his money. That you're not the person everyone thinks you are." The room erupted into shocked whispers. I felt like the walls were closing in. "Stop lying!" I screamed, tears spilling down my cheeks. "None of that is true." Samantha smiled coldly. "Oh, come on, Emily. You can't hide forever. People deserve to know who you really are." I couldn't take it anymore. I shoved past her, ran out of the hall, and collapsed in the parking lot, sobbing uncontrollably. Rachel followed me, kneeling beside me. Listen to me. Everyone can see she's lying. She's just trying to break you." But in that moment, I wasn't sure anymore. Samantha's voice had burrowed so deep into my mind that I began to doubt myself. Was I good enough? For Daniel? Did I deserve him? Later that night, Daniel showed up at my apartment. I was curled up on the couch, my face blotchy from crying. Without a word, he sat beside me and pulled me into his arms. "I heard what happened," he said quietly. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered, my voice broken. "She's ruining everything. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not good enough for you." Daniel pulled back sharply, gripping my shoulders, forcing me to look into his eyes. "Don't you dare say that. Don't you let her win. Emily, you are everything I want, everything I need. She's jealous because she knows she'll never have what we have." His words wrapped around me like a shield. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of strength return. "You really mean that?" I asked softly. He kissed my forehead. "More than anything." And in that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Samantha destroy me. If she wanted a war, then she was going to get one. Because I was done being the quiet, passive cousin who lived in her shadow. I was ready to fight back. The morning after my bridal shower, I woke up with swollen eyes and a pounding headache. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the engagement ring on my finger. Samantha's words echoed in my mind like a broken record, but Daniel's voice was louder. "Don't let her win. You are everything I want." For the first time, I felt a spark of anger stronger than my fear. Samantha wanted to ruin me? Fine, but I wasn't going down without a fight. I picked up my phone and called Rachel. "I need your help," I said firmly. "Anything," she replied. Over the next few days, Rachel and I started digging. If Samantha was spreading lies about me, maybe she had secrets of her own. And it didn't take long before we found something. Rachel's cousin worked at a luxury boutique in downtown Austin, the same boutique Samantha bragged about shopping at. One evening, Rachel called me, her voice trembling with excitement. "Emily, you're not going to believe this. Samantha's been buying expensive jewelry and handbags on credit. She's thousands of dollars in debt." My jaw dropped. "What? But she always acts like she's rich." "Exactly," Rachel said. "She's pretending to be perfect, but she's drowning financially. And guess what? She's been telling people she's planning to snag a wealthy husband to save her." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Of course she is. And she thinks Daniel should have been that husband." The pieces started to fall into place. Samantha's cruelty, her obsession with Daniel, her desperate need to tear me down. It was all rooted in her own insecurities and failures. But how could I prove it? The answer came sooner than I expected. A week before my wedding, Daniel and I hosted a rehearsal dinner at a beautiful lakeside restaurant. Friends, family, and bridal party members gathered, enjoying food and laughter. For once, everything felt peaceful. Until Samantha walked in. She wore a stunning red dress, her blonde hair styled perfectly, her lips curved into a smug smile. Gasps rippled through the room. My stomach twisted. "What is she doing here?" I whispered to Daniel. He shook his head, his jaw tightening. "I didn't invite her." Samantha strutted up to the microphone, ignoring the shocked faces around her. "Good evening, everyone. I just thought you all deserved to hear the truth before this wedding goes any further." My blood ran cold. Not again. Not tonight. She turned dramatically toward Daniel. "You don't know who Emily really is. She's been lying to you. She's not loyal, she's not honest, and she doesn't deserve you." The room filled with uncomfortable murmurs. My mother covered her mouth in horror. Daniel started to stand, but I grabbed his arm. For once, I wasn't going to let him fight my battles. I rose to my feet, my hands trembling, but my voice steady. "That's enough, Samantha." She smirked. "Oh, look at you finally finding your voice. Too bad it's too late." "No," I said firmly, stepping toward her. "It's not too late. In fact, it's the perfect time to tell the truth. About you." The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Samantha's smirk faltered. "You've spent months spreading lies about me," I continued, my voice growing stronger. "You told people I cheated, that I'm marrying Daniel for money. But the truth is, Samantha, You're the one who's been lying. You've been pretending to be perfect while drowning in debt, shopping on credit, desperate to trap a rich husband to save you." Gasps echoed through the room. Samantha's eyes widened in panic. "That's not true," she snapped. "Oh, it is." Rachel's voice rang out as she stepped forward, holding up printed statements. "I have the proof right here. Your debt, your overdue bills, all of it. You've been living a lie, Samantha." The crowd erupted into whispers. Relatives exchanged shocked looks. Samantha's mask crumbled as anger twisted her face. "You planned to destroy me because you wanted Daniel," I said, tears welling in my eyes. "But guess what? Love doesn't work that way. You can't manipulate or bully your way into someone's heart. Daniel chose me. He loves me. And nothing you do will change that." Daniel stood beside me then, wrapping his arm around my shoulders. His voice was steady, fierce. "Emily is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if you can't accept that, Samantha, then you don't belong in our lives." The room exploded in applause. My friends, my family, even some of far. Samantha's own relatives clapped and cheered. For the first time, I wasn't the quiet cousin in her shadow. I was standing tall, proud, and unshaken. Samantha's face turned red with rage. She grabbed her purse, hissed something under her breath, and stormed out of the restaurant. And just like that, the storm that had hovered over me for months finally began to break. The wedding day arrived 1 week later. The sun shone brightly over the lake, the flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, and as I walked down the aisle in my white gown, I felt lighter than ever before. When I reached Daniel at the altar, tears filled his eyes. "You're breathtaking," he whispered. As we exchanged vows, I realized something important. Samantha's cruelty had almost destroyed me, but in the end, it had made me stronger. I had found my voice, my courage, and my worth. When the pastor pronounced us husband and wife, and Daniel kissed me under the warm Texas sun, I knew one thing for certain. I was good enough. I had always been good enough. And no one, not even Samantha, could ever take that away from me.